Welcome to SoCalSportsReport.com's weekly podcast. I am John Stellman, along with Vince Morales and John Adams, and we are rushing to get home for the first pitch. This is really exciting. I tell you, this has been one of the best World Series from an entertainment aspect, the ups and downs, the euphoria, the stress, the ins and outs, the umpiring, the pitching, which has been a disaster on both sides. A lot of runs, a lot of excitement, and it's been a great series. So let's go to Vince right off the bat. Dodgers looking for a win tonight to even this thing up.
Yeah, and again, if you take a 30,000-foot approach to it, it's home field advantage is back in the Dodgers' side. You don't want to come into this 3-2, but they won a game in Houston. Houston won a game in LA. This is what you won 104 games for. You get home field advantage back, and you go with your guys, and that's what you do. You got to hold service now. So it's not doom and gloom. It's a disastrous way to lose a couple of games. For me, trying to be the positive guy, though it was a crushing defeat. Our closer issues are just as bad as their closer issues, and I think that their closer issues are even worse.
They don't have one anymore.
I don't know that A.J. Hinch knows what the hell he's going to do in a tight game. And anytime you got to, look, the Houston Astros are the best offensive team in baseball. We've known that. They're major league best in hitting and on base and home runs. They're just the best. We know that. But they've also been held to 3 hits and 2 hits in 2 of their losses. And so this is also a team that had some trouble hitting the ball against New York, has had some trouble hitting the ball in this series. So I'm positive. I'm upbeat. The Dodgers are home. They need to win too to have to finish this great season. Right. But it's not easy to do. But A.J. Hinch is looking down his bench for his bats to bail him out rather than his bullpen, and I think that can bite him.
Yeah,
and so
well,
that's
he's even said, I'm not going to Giles in a closing situation, and he was, he was allegedly their. Well, he was their closer during the season. Right. He's been awful. So.
Yeah. Well, as we said from the very start, this is the Dodgers pitching versus the Astros hitting, is what we said from the very beginning, and what we've found out that a well-rested Dodgers bullpen is now spent, and I think it's also spent on the other side, and it's crazy how now this is where these coaches are really going to have to make their money making right decisions, and it's been really crazy. Hopefully it's a colder night now. Maybe you can keep the ball into the inside the fences, and we can go from there. But I think it's going to be, quite interesting. I think, the Dodgers are in a situation where they're just going to say, look, this is our last game. It could be our last game. We got to go all out here. So if Hill's going well, you got to pitch him more than facing the batter 3 times, right? Exactly. And let these guys go a little bit, because it shows that Morrow just pitched, and that's what, what they're saying on the telecast was Morrow's not going to be used in this game. If he is, it's a final, he's going to be there just before Fields and McCarthy. And what do you know? Morrow's in the bullpen, and he's throwing for his 12th time in 13 games. Right. These guys
and
are
third straight game.
Right, yeah.
And
you know what? And then you bring him in to face their top 4 guys, and in 6 pitches, he's given up 4 runs. Right. I mean, it's just, you're really going to have to make really smart decisions with the bullpen. And I think Rich Hill needs to go 6 innings tonight, at least. Well, I'm sorry. You expect a win with Kershaw, right?
Right.
And then the Astros expect a win with Verlander. You just got to be able to go and beat up the Verlander. So, that's just a major situation. You have to beat Verlander like they beat Kershaw type of deal. So
yeah, let's get back to that. At some point it's like, why did Roberts do this and why did Roberts do that? The bottom line is that this was a legacy game, a signature game for a first ballot Hall of Famer to nail down, and he failed.
Right.
Clayton Kershaw failed.
Right.
He let down his team. He let down his fans. He let down himself. You saw it on the bench. He needed to go more than 4 2/3. He needed to protect a 4-1 lead or a 4-0 lead at one point. He needed to protect a 7-4 lead,
Right.
and he couldn't do it. He failed. And that's the naysayer, the doom side of it is, and now you've given it back to Verlander. Verlander's beatable. I'm
Right.
you know,
He
again,
is.
you know, if Verlander's going to beat you and the Astros win in 6, it's like, you know, nobody. Well, I mean, you said that there are some people who were saying, "Oh, Dodgers in 4, Dodgers in 5." I never thought
never
that. You
thought
said
that.
you said 7 games.
Yeah.
I said 7
Yeah.
games. You picked the Astros in 6.
Yeah.
So you know, these three, you know, below the level of expert. You know, we never saw it that way. It was more of the fans and the homers and the guys who are, you know, on the local radio who are trying to pump it up and, you know, rah Dodgers. And I, you know, I never looked at that team and said it. But the discouraging thing for me is that look, we're upbeat, we're back. We held home field advantage. I felt a lot better going into Game 5 with Kershaw than I do coming into Game 6 with Rich Hill and Verlander. But the bottom line is that there should just be no sympathy or compassion for Clayton Kershaw. Right. He failed. This was the time he was turning it around. His postseason, now that he's being used with the perfect amount of rest, here he is, first ballot Hall of Famer, and he went 4 2/3. He walked 3. He struck out 2. He was crap. He failed, and it was a disaster. And that's why Roberts, who didn't want to use Morrow, had to bring in Morrow. It's why he had to go early to Maeda. He couldn't trust Kershaw anymore, and that's a sad thing. It's a sad thing to see.
You can't trust your ace and your, you know.
And look, Kershaw, if he stays healthy, he's going to win 20 games next year, and in 10 years from now, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the bottom line is that I think they don't win this World Series. They don't win another one. They may get there again, but they can't count on Clayton Kershaw. Well, what are we going to be counting on a 35-year-old wily Clayton Kershaw? He wasn't spinning his curveball. He wasn't getting that curveball over.
Or the slider.
You know, or really the slider, and he's relying on the cutter, and he's getting that ball up, and nobody fears him. No, certainly nobody in that Houston lineup fears Clayton Kershaw.
I saw a stat since 2012 when he had a 4-run lead. He's 49-1.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's the other thing. Now, what are just, and that's the other thing Vince just brought up here is like his postseason is terrible.
It is.
Right? So, I mean, what are you known for? Are you known for your everyday stats that you're going to go all the way until the postseason? Or are you going to known for being a Hall of Famer, being able to close out, winning, winning championships and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is like the postseason, when it all really, really counts, it's very mediocre at best.
Yeah,
and that's if you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you need to win those games, and he was far from doing that.
8 home runs in 5 postseason starts.
Right.
Nobody looks across. Nobody looks at Jim Kelly or Dan Marino and says, "There's the greatest quarterback of all time."
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
They may be Hall of Famers, but nobody ever says, "This is the greatest of all time." They just don't, and there are going to be plenty of people who are going to argue when it's ready. First ballot Hall of Fame for Clayton Kershaw. Boy, he was the greatest left-hander of his time, and it's like I'm a Dodger fan, and I'm telling you, he didn't get it done. Mm-hmm. He didn't get it done. It was that was the most deflating when he gave up when they tied the game at 4, and then they went up 7-4, and it was like, wow, how resilient is this Dodgers team? And they said, there you go, Clayton.
Right.
We got your back. And what did Clayton do? He pooped his pants.
Right.
It's the most discouraging thing about it. And so now we've got Rich Hill and Justin Verlander. And nobody's mistaking Rich Hill for a Hall of Famer. God help us. Right. Yeah. So, Rich Hill's going to have to spin a ball that apparently can't be spun. If everybody talks about the slick baseball and the low seams and a ball that's designed to not be pitched well and to be hit out of the ballpark. Yeah.
Like you guys said, you can take analytics and toss him away. He's got to go. If he has to go to the third time around, he's got to do that. I mean, that Game 2 start that had a domino effect on the Dodger bullpen the whole rest of the series. They had to bring guys in early. He's got to get into the 6th inning.
And now that you say they got to win this game, and they have to go to Game 7, and you got to look at Kershaw and say you could be coming out of the pen, and you could be ready to go, right? Because we might need you. Because guess what? On Thursday, there's no more baseball. So you just go ahead and throw your whole arm out and get it all done. But you need to have that.
You know what that smacks of? John, to me, it's like you've had that employee, right? It's like, oh God, sorry I'm late. Traffic was bad, so. And then the next day, oh yeah, I had to drop my kid off. I'm sorry I'm late. And then the third day, it's like, oh yeah, I was, took a little extra time for lunch. I had to run some errands. I got behind some, and then on Friday, the guy's going, you know what? I'll stay late Friday, and you're just going, I don't want to be here to supervise you. We're not. You're not. Don't stay late on Friday. If you had done your job on Monday, went Tuesday, Wednesday, you wouldn't be staying late on Friday. So it's like, Kershaw, okay, we know you can go tonight. Okay, you said you're going to go tonight. Okay, you said you can go tomorrow. We shouldn't have had to be in that situation for you to do that. And I hate saying it. I love Clayton Kershaw, but he failed. He let us down. He broke our hearts. He let us down. And this is a resilient team, and it's more resilient than me as a fan,
right.
Because I'm looking at it going, it's Verlander. God, boy, this is tough, but we've got home field advantage back, and that's what it's supposed to do. Look what home field does for the Astros. It elevates them. They stole one here. We stole one there, but this is why we won 104 games, so that we could earn this for the first time in many years, where the winningest team in Major League, maybe not the best team, we'll see. The winningest team in Major League Baseball gets home field advantage in the World Series.
Well,
and so they earned it, and they need to deserve
and back it up.
They should, that's the way it should be. You look at every other sport. In the NBA, the best record. NHL, best record. It's been that way in every other sport. And, I think that the team with the best record is deserving.
Yeah.
You're deserving of that. What about... What are you guys' feelings on Kenley Jansen?
He came into the series actually having some problems spotting the ball. His command has been off. We knew that. He stated that, but you don't get better trying to get 6 outs.
I'm not a big fan of the. I could see 5 outs, but I'm not a big fan of 6.
No.
4 out. I should say 4 outs. Sorry, 4 outs. I'm not a big fan of this 5 and 6 out stuff. But when you're looking down your bullpen and you have no confidence in anybody else, you try to go with your horse. But that horse is actually pretty spent. So you gotta, and that's the other thing is usually you bring him in with the lead, right? I don't think he's coming in with the lead yet, has he?
Tied.
No, it's always been tied, right? And so, but again. I don't know what it is, but
he did pitch to close out the 6-1 game.
But I just don't feel like there's a lot of trust. And I thought the lefties have done okay. The Watsons and Serganis have done okay, but he doesn't leave him in there for a long time. And,
no, it's all situational, and that's really not their role.
Yeah.
Watson came in, threw one pitch, got 2 outs. Done.
Yeah, and Sergani's actually done okay, you know.
Yes.
So. I just think you need to, I know that's a situational baseball, but this situational baseball has got you to get more into your weaker pitchers, and I just think they should last a little bit long. Again, it's an armchair quarterback sitting here, telling you it's tough to make those decisions right there at game time. It's not easy. So
it's not easy, and you've got guys who have been tremendous all year. Offensively, and then Bregman, who has been dynamite,
unbelievable.
And AJ Hinch said he's going to be the MVP of the World Series before the World Series started, because of the way that he has been hitting Hall of Famers like Sale and Kershaw and others. At some point. But it's also a lineup that had just 2 hits in one game. It had just 3 hits in another game, and so
it's doable.
It's doable.
Yep,
It's doable, and those bats can abandon that team. They start free swinging. Those bats can abandon that team. But if the bats don't falter, the Dodgers don't hold them to 5-6 hits, something less than that, it's going to be tough. And you're gonna have to go to the bullpen. I mean, Rich Hill is not going 8.
No,
it's not happening.
No.
It's not happening. Rich Hill is not going 8. It's going to be Hill, and then it looks like Wood. I think I would have preferred a Darvish and throw Wood in Game 7.
I heard something like Darvish he doesn't feel like 100%, so they're going to push him off to the Game 7 if there is one.
And then speaking of Darvish, the whole the insensitive racial thing, Gurriel, so here and then there's a guy who's a hero,
Yeah.
And we should have been talking about it. The Dodgers should have allowed it to be more of a distraction for the Astros than they did. So when AJ Hinch calls Dave Roberts and says, "I know the kid, I'm sorry," and Dave Roberts says, "That's okay, no problem.
We'll move on."
You just let him off the hook. And when who was it?
When Utley,
Beltran, sends a text message to Yu Darvish because they played together or whatever, and says, "Look, he's a good guy." And Darvish says, "It's okay, it's no problem." Now the pressure's off this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now the pressure's off this kid, and it's like, why? Because we want to play on an even playing field. It's like, no, you should have report. You should let those. Don't say anything. It's like, yeah, you know what, that sucks. Don't say anything. Don't forgive him. Don't say, "Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know he's a good guy." No, let that
media,
distraction sit. Yeah.
Social media went crazy on him. I know that.
But in there,
right? Yeah,
they were like, "It's okay. It's no big deal." And some of that is because Roberts and Hinch are such buddies.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not gamesmanship. I mean, gamesmanship is I have no comment on that. And if I'm the manager, it's like, AJ and I will talk after the World Series. I have no comment on that insensitive, racist gesture.
Yeah.
That's what you say.
Yeah.
You don't forgive somebody and you don't let it publicly be known that you're forgiving somebody.
Yeah.
It's like you don't answer those texts. Yeah. We're in a battle here, and any chance you get, and it was like, free and easy, and this guy's now, getting the ball all over the yard.
Yeah.
Well, Utley went through the same thing in New York with the Mets. Remember when he had that?
Yeah, but nobody forgave him.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was a similar situation, and he heard it. He heard it from the crowd, and like you say, nobody said,
Yeah,
that's
but
okay.
but the thing,
that's the other thing. I wonder how the Dodger fans will react to him when he's in, and I think they maybe they bring it back, kind of. I don't know. So
the issue there is that the Utley slide was technically legal. It was a legal slide.
Yeah.
It was a legal slide.
Right.
Okay. It's one of the things where we look at it and just go, pfft. I mean, I remember guys sliding 15 feet past the base, 15 feet to the side. It's like, all right,
Spikes
okay,
up.
Stuff happens. I get it. But it was technically legal. Gurriel was suspended 5 games, but next year.
Yeah.
So we don't punish the team. Well, okay. So we wait to punish him? I mean, what if they trade him?
Yeah.
I mean, what if they trade him? Now, so they're punishing a different team?
Yeah.
Because so for me, it's one of those things where, look, I don't care that he was suspended.
Yeah.
He wasn't suspended for the series. Fine. That's the thing. You don't want to, like Draymond Green. You don't want to, because of this or that. You don't want to take the stars out of it. That's fine. I get that. But for the Dodgers to have not played the gamesmanship and just kept their mouth shut and said, AJ, we'll talk about this after the World Series.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what? And Dave Roberts come out and said, we were really, really offended by those insensitive gestures. AJ and I will talk afterwards, but that, you know what? There's no place for that in baseball. Right. And just kept the narrative going and say, you need to ask him about it. Why don't you ask AJ about what they're doing internally?
Yeah.
How they're handling it.
Right.
AJ, are you going to suspend him? No, we're not going to suspend him. He's been suspended next year. Well, why aren't you doing something about it? Right. And it's because, I talked to Dave, and Dave said it's cool. Yeah. And Beltran texted you, and you says it's cool.
I'm over
so he'll get suspended next year.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, that's fine. Suspend him next year, but the Dodgers should have played the gamesmanship.
Yeah, they could have handled that a little bit better. Yeah.
Nice guys finish last.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how like you mentioned, how the fans will react tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got to have more on the Dodgers here.
What, are you trying to make me cry? Are you trying to make me cry?
No, I'm just trying to analyze.
Camera?
No.
Jeez.
Just trying to analyze. I was really shocked, like you say, with when they got the 4 4-run lead, I it's over.
Well,
When they tied it up, then they got the 3-run lead. I was really surprised.
I'll tell you from start to finish. These games are over when the last out's made on the ninth inning.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's just been crazy. Nothing's over in this.
No,
They're
again,
so evenly matched. Right.
The Dodgers have shown that they're just so resilient. They can come back. And they came back in so many games, and they've shown that. And the Astros have shown that they're the best offensive team in baseball. So I certainly wasn't comfortable, but I was really let down by Kershaw. You're just expecting him to,
Exactly.
So when he get 4-1, gives up the run, and then after he gives up the 3-run home run, it's like, oh geez, and he just wasn't striking anybody out. And with that strike zone.
Right. I mean,
my God.
It's a pitcher strike zone. You got to take advantage of that.
Take advantage, And again, sometimes he just gets into this overthinking. And I think there's a part of me that sort of is flopping back to if that had been Yasmani Grandal back there, maybe this would have been a different game. Austin Barnes is young. He calls a good game. He's a great framer. But you didn't need to frame the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was calling everything.
Just needed to catch it.
You needed somebody who maybe was a little more seasoned to go out there and kick Kershaw in the ass. I don't know that Barnes has the gravitas to really kick Kershaw in the butt and say, this is what we're going to do, and you're going to spin that curveball and get that thing over. Because when he was throwing the curveball, there was a time when he was throwing that curveball, and he just abandoned it. And then he couldn't get it over, and then I just think he didn't want it. And then if I was Barnes, I would have just said, I'm putting the 2 down, and you're going to throw that freaking pitch.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, when on your plaque at Cooperstown, they're going to be talking about that filthy curveball that you have. You throw that's freaking pitch.
Yeah, because nobody's going to hit that pitch out.
Throw that.
They'll hit it. They'll keep it in the ballpark, but there's not a lot of hung curveballs by him that are hit a long way. It's a hard pitch to hit for in the alleys. But that's the other thing is you mentioned on the agenda the baseball. These guys are complaining about the baseball. Well, I shouldn't say they're not complaining, because I think the media is complaining, and a lot of the fans are talking about all the home runs, and the pitchers talking about slick. But it's a baseball that's being handled by both teams, right? So
exactly.
both teams are having struggles. I mean, Keuchel struggled to throw his pitches. I mean, Kershaw threw 39 sliders last night. Sorry,
he missed
Sunday,
a lot of bats,
and he only had one guy swing at it.
Yeah, he didn't miss a lot of bats.
So something's going on there. Maeda, his slider's his out pitch. He struggled to get that over the plate. So what does he got to throw? A 90-mile-an-hour fastball. He's not going to get that by anybody, right? So, I don't know what's going on. It's like Vince mentioned. It's the tighter the threads, which is the lower the drag, and the lower the drag, the ball carries farther. The slicker the baseball. I mean, John Smoltz has been very, very good. I've liked him on the telecast.
He's done a good job.
But he goes, you know what? When I grab a baseball, I know if it's a baseball or if it's a little weird feeling baseball. And I'm getting a lot of guys saying that this is a weird feeling baseball.
Right. But
again, it goes both ways.
But he waffled also and said, look, I can't pick up a baseball because, anymore. And I don't pick up a baseball, which I find a little disingenuous. Mm-hmm. It was him trying not to say that this ball, I wanted John Smoltz to say,
this ball.
I've held this ball. I would hate this ball.
Right.
Yeah, this ball will fly, or there's something wrong with this ball. I don't want him to say, I've talked to guys who have held that ball. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. I mean, I know your hands are probably pretty arthritic, or you've got a lot of pain in them. It's like, all you got to do is just rub the laces. Just rub the laces one time and tell me what you think, John Smoltz. What you think, not what you've heard from pitchers who you trust. What do you think, John Smoltz? Just rub your thumb over the seam and tell me. Because I bet you've pitched enough games and enough innings to know just by rubbing your thumb over the seam whether or not you're going to miss bats with that ball.
But MLB says there's nothing different to the ball, but they've had the most home runs they've ever had in a season.
Record.
They already have 101 home runs in the postseason, the most ever, right? And I think they already have 22 home runs in the World Series or something like that. Crazy?
More, I think 23. But it's a lot. It's the most ever.
But it's just, it's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on, and the stats that came out, in the game last week on Sunday was insane too. They broke one record, and all the other records are in second place. It's like 7 HRs, 16 extra base hits, 25 runs, 417 pitches since 1988. 5 hours and 17 minutes on a game time. But there was a lot of stuff that's going on in that game that almost broke a lot of records. But it's just, I think the baseball is different.
Oh, it is.
To be honest with you. But it's different for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not like the Dodgers get these balls and the Astros get these balls.
But here's the thing for me. The thing for me is that if I tune into Game 5 of the World Series between Clayton Kershaw and Dallas Keuchel, and that game ends up 13-12. That's not fun for me.
Right.
That's not fun. And if you're a true baseball fan, as an Astros fan, it shouldn't have been fun for you either. I mean, yeah, it's fun because you won, and but 13-12 when you've got Clayton Kershaw and Dallas Keuchel, to me, that's BS. That's not fun.
I mean, game one, didn't they leave when they both left? It was 3-1, right, or something like that.
No.
In game one.
In game one, yeah.
In game one, and they both left each other. It was 3-1.
Right.
That's the Dallas Keuchel. Clayton Kershaw game. You know what I mean? So I agree, Vince. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
So, and then you have the great.
Please don't make me talk about the Dodgers.
Bill Miller,
please.
So
Kershaw's going to redeem himself by coming in the ninth inning tomorrow.
Yeah.
With a 1-run lead and setting him down 1-2-3.
Well,
that
would be the eighth, and then Jansen goes in the ninth or whatever. But
Jansen goes in the eighth.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's just get there first. So.
Yeah, exactly. Gabe Kapler goes to the Phillies.
Yeah.
As their manager.
He was behind the scenes for you guys, right, or something like that.
Yeah, he was head of the player development.
Player development.
Yeah.
He's also really like a big swole guy, and so he's been instrumental in getting guys to to sort of pump up, but. That's sort of one of his things, healthy eating, healthy living, and so he was up for the general manager position with the Dodgers. He was up for the manager position before Roberts. They interviewed him, but he's kook. He's kooky. Yeah. He's kooky. He's kind of a kooky guy. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how long that experiment lasts in Philadelphia.
Well. I didn't see the length of that contract.
I think it's 3 years.
Does the length of a contract mean anything for managers anymore? It doesn't.
I think everybody that's new in baseball as a manager gets 3 years with an option of 4.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's what Davey Martinez just got in the Nationals.
Washington.
He got 3 with an option 4.
Whose option is that? The team?
Yeah. It's got to be the team.
Yeah.
Speaking of managers, what do you think? Is Girardi going to come back and manage?
I think he's going to take a year off. He'll probably do TV stuff, and then I think he'll wait till Socha gets let go, and then hopefully take that job. But I'll be honest, there's the other thing that I wonder what's going to go on with it. These old school type of coaches, I don't know if they're going to get these managers' job anymore. I mean, if you're not adapting to this analytics and using the computer to do a lot of homework for you, I don't think you're going to get jobs anymore. I think the game is changing in the managerial position
there's
anymore.
No question.
They have no problem taking a no-name manager, right, and putting him, maybe he's been a bench coach or whatever, and putting him in the role if he understands the whole analytics. I mean, it's now where you hire the guy and say, this is how it's going to go.
Right.
Are you on board? If not, we'll go to the next guy. So
Kapler's a big analytics guy.
Yeah. So I think you have to be now. At least I think the teams are saying, I'll give it a shot for a couple of years and see how it goes. But you're seeing these teams, Dodgers, very analytical. I don't know about the Astros, but you're seeing so you're seeing that this is becoming very successful. So I think you have to have a guy that's pretty smart to be able to understand all this stuff. And if you're old school, I don't know if that's going to handle.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Girardi was he's got his hand slapped because he wasn't relating to the younger customer and younger guys anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that is code for he's not doing the analytics. He's not into the analytics. He's not into coaching the kids up based off of the probabilities and the analytics and the shifts and that sort of thing.
That was the deal with Socia and DePoto. That's why DePoto was gone. He was a big analytics guy, and Socia wasn't even.
And the only reason Socia's keeping his job is because he's run into a lot of injuries, so he's got a lot of comeback to say, I didn't have anybody on the mound this year. But I'll tell you right now, if he comes in second place and he's got his pitching for the whole time, then it's going to come down to, you know what, Mike, the game's past you, But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think Dino Ebel, who's his bench coach, would make a good major league manager? He's been with Socia for a long time.
I just don't. I'll be dead honest with you. I'm an Angel fan. I really don't know about him. I don't know his background. I know that he was a third base coach for us,
now the bench coach.
And now he's a bench coach. But I don't remember him in baseball, right? So I don't know if you get the respect out of the players. I don't know. I don't remember him playing second base or shortstop or whatever and being a name in baseball. And I just don't know if you're going to get the respect from the players. I think he's a good bench coach. I think he's a good third base coach or first base coach. I don't know if he's management material. Yeah. I don't know if he's liked the press. I don't see him giving a lot of interviews. You know what I mean? And usually bench coaches don't. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe Vince, you can expand on this a little bit more, but I just don't see him as a manager. I think there's better guys out there.
Yeah,
is my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm really honestly, I have no idea. What his capabilities are. It's a little different with like a Cora who's going, who's going to be ending up with the Sox. Seeing what he's done before, knew what kind of player he was, and he's clearly well liked and has contributed to elevating that Houston team and the bench and so, but I don't know. I mean, would you be able to enumerate anything specifically that Dino has done that's improved?
He reminds me of the really cool neighbor you can go grab a beer with and just sit in his backyard and chat with. I'm sorry, that's what it kind of reminds me of. I mean, I think the guys love him, and I think he's like their big brother. He's like the guy you can go talk to.
Yeah.
I think he's like that kind of guy, right? I don't think he's going to, I would really like to see Dino get in an umpire's face.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it at third base, right? I just don't think that guy's a guy that would turn his hat backwards and go fight for you. I don't know.
Getting back to the analytics thing and Dave Roberts, I saw some during the playoffs. I think there was even a story, or he might have said it, that they all sit down.
Yep.
With the general manager, the front office, the owners.
Every game.
They sit down, they make out the lineup, they determine what moves.
And then they allow him to make managerial decitions, at game time, right? But no, it's like, it's all, they break it all down. Yeah. And that's what I think it's
they do, but he's also said that he's given the leeway to sort of look over at his coaches and look at the guy and look at his catcher and say, it's time to pull him, despite what the analytics say, or whatever. And I was telling John, I saw an interview post game after the Dodgers had taken Game 4, and they were interviewing Roberts, and he was saying, look, I like where we are. We got Kershaw going tomorrow, and I like where we are. And the question he was asked about the trend in baseball from managers and organizations deciding to put pitchers in to prevent a fire rather than put it out. And Roberts just kind of smiled wryly, and it was like, bingo, that's how it is these days. And he said he's still given the leeway to pull a guy when he's ready to pull a guy. But that's the thinking nowadays. It isn't like, okay, he's walked a guy and he's put a guy on, and now we got to get somebody in there to put out the fire. It's, he's done his job. I don't think he can go. The analytics say he shouldn't go anymore. Let's put this guy in. And it was working well against the Cubs. I mean, when they were pulling guys, after 4 1/3 or, 5 innings, you'd just be like, oh, my God, this is infuriating. Doesn't he have anything left? But that's the trend. The trend is prevent the fire rather than put it out.
Right.
And it's frustrating when you have a first ballot Hall of Famer like Clayton Kershaw, except, he's at a point now where maybe that problem in his back and a different ball is causing some of these issues. So the analytics, it was one of the reasons why Roberts was hired.
And that's why I think these guys go to Jansen for 6 outs, because they look at his numbers versus these players, and they say that's better than bringing in this guy for 1 inning who has mediocre numbers. So it's just it's a numbers thing. But again, you also got to look at this guy's a human being,
right?
And
command changes.
Right. Exactly.
That can change. His release point can change, and you have to be. That's when the analytics get thrown out. Right. At that point where it's saying, look, if I need this guy for 5 outs, or I need this guy for 6 outs, or I need this guy against this righty-lefty, but if his command isn't there, it's just not there.
But that's what Smoltz brought up with the whole Morrow situation. Look he is pitching in his 12th game in 13 games. I'm sorry, 12th time in 13 games. Your mind says you can do it. Your arm says but your body is not. It's tired. Like and if you take off just half of a quarter of a second off of your pitch, it's just that much more time for him to see the baseball.
Right. And so if you're used to throwing 97, 96, 97, 98, get it up to 100, and then you throw that 86 off speed, if you're not getting that off speed over, and then you got to go back to that fastball, and it's 96 instead of 98, or it's 95 instead of 97.
Right.
And they were teeing him up.
Yeah. Right.
It was BP because they had seen him.
Right.
And they said, boy, I couldn't hit that fastball 2 days ago, but that fastball, I can hit.
There's a fastball and there's a live fastball. His balls were live early, and now it's
Right.
Like, I'd be very surprised if he went to him today. I mean, he
can't go to him today.
That's a guy that needs rest. Like, he really needs rest. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to do it with possibly another starter tonight. Bringing in a Darvish or somebody like that to get this.
It's not going to be Darvish. It's Wood.
Well,
it's already been said.
Yeah, okay.
It's going to be Wood.
I mean, I'm just saying another starter. To get it to Jansen. Like, you got to save this guy for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if there is one. So
we were talking earlier about the disparity in the among the umpires as far as the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of talk about a computerized ball and strike count where every single pitch would be the same, have the same,
I can't go there.
But
I mean, it's just I can't have a guy in somebody's ear going strike, and the guy goes, "What do you mean strike?" Well, that guy up there told me to call a strike. No, it's you got to let the human do it. I mean, that's what baseball.
No,
the human needs to do this.
No.
But again,
no, the human needs to hit the baseball. The human needs to pitch the baseball. I don't give a crap if a human calls a pitch strike or ball. If a computer can do it 100% of the time accurately, let's go to a computer. And that guy can call the safes and outs at the plate, and then they have replay, and he can just buzz. He doesn't even need to say it. And then there's no argument. There's no bitching from the benches about whether or not his strike zone is this wide or this high. It's computerized. The lasers are out there. That's a strike.
Everything's the same.
That's a strike. And I don't want to have to deal with Kershaw usually gets those strikes because he's Clayton Kershaw. It's like, if Kershaw can paint the black and he throws a strike, it's a strike. Yeah. A strike is a strike. And so, look, I love the old school baseball, but when it comes right down to it, there are balls and strikes. I don't mind when a guy comes in and runs for a ball and he can't catch it. That's the human error that I want to see in baseball. I do not want to see an umpire's human error. To me, I have no love for, oh God, the umpire feels so bad for him, he missed that call. No, get it right. That's your job. Get it right. And if you can be supplanted by a computer to get it right, because we're not paying the umpire to watch the umpires. If this guy's throwing a strike and you're not calling a strike,
how does the computer call it? How does the computer call the curveball crossing?
We got replays.
They got lasers on all four the plates, and the just like they have the thing showing on the sidelines.
Yeah,
the technology is great. I mean, the technology is great.
And I don't want to be kind of discriminative here, but I think there needs to be a time where an umpire needs to be retired. So I think keeping it at the human level, making those decisions. But when you turn 60, you're gone. or you turn a certain age, you're gone. Because that's what we're seeing. You're seeing these older guys that are making these stupid decisions, and making these. So I just think it's if baseball is getting younger, then I think the umpires need to get younger, and they need to get the golden handshake and get taken off just like an airplane pilot does at 65, or But I don't think anybody past like 57 or 58 years old should be umpiring. That's just my take on it.
Yeah,
you got those replays too on calls on the bases,
right?
And a lot of those are overturned. So why can't we have something computerized to get the strike?
Well, you guys are for it. I'm just telling you, I'm not for it. You guys.
I love it because I don't like it when an umpire is. Look, it's different in basketball when when the referees start calling fouls and whatever, and they say, oh, well, they could call foul on every play, and they're calling foul. It's different. I mean, until the technology gets to a point where you can tell when somebody grabs somebody in basketball with enough force to disrupt a play or to gain an advantage, then let's talk about that. But to me, I don't want a computer calling the plays at first, second, or even sliding plays at the plate. They can go to replay. There's replay for that. But as far as I'm concerned, if there's a way to definitively get it right, you pay Clayton Kershaw $32 million to throw strikes. And he's either throwing strikes or he's not throwing strikes. But now you've got to say, oh, well, that was a strike, but the guy behind the plate didn't call it. I'm all for human error when a guy can't get a pitch over. I'm all for human error when a guy misses a pitch. I'm all for human error when a guy drops a ball and can't get it. I love that part of baseball. I don't love human error behind the plate. I hate it. And I would be the first guy to sign up for computers calling balls and strike. If you've got the technology to get it right 99.9% of the time, I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm down with it. And then you speed up the game because there's no bitching. It's like stay in the box. Don't roll your eyes. Don't back out. Don't, mess with your gloves. It was a strike. The computer called it a strike. Everybody knows it's a strike. Stay in the box. And then you speed up the game. Yeah. To me, it speeds up the game. But, there's all these purists about, oh, we're taking this out, we're taking that out. And they all tend to be guys like Bob Costas and Al Michaels and Joe Buck. And, it's like, who barely even want to talk about analytics, which is just so insulting when these announcers are coming up and saying, oh, there you go, we're talking those analytics again. It's like, that's what baseball is now. Yeah. That's what baseball is now.
I do think there should be a rule where you can't put three guys on the side of the diamond. I think you can put them right on the edge of the base, but you can't put three guys on the side of the diamond. But again, you're probably going to disagree with that, saying go ahead and hit it the other way.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Check swing to left field.
Don't feel like it's right. So that's just me, though. You guys can.
So what is tonight's umpire? We haven't gotten the word. Is he a pitcher's umpire or a hitter's umpire?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea.
It's whoever the guy was that was umping first last night. I just have a feeling
that Bill Miller's never going to be asked again for a World Series. So.
Well, one thing with a computer too, everybody's going to know what's a strike and what isn't a strike. You're not going to have a low strike or a high strike or missed the corner. It's going to be set in stone. You know exactly what the strike zone is, what the computer's going to call. It's going to call the same for every game, so you don't have to figure out 2 innings later. Right. Oh, he's giving me this pitch, or he's not giving me that.
Look,
pitch.
I don't think the technology's there for it to be completely automatic. It seems like ESPN can do it on their game casts, and it looks like Fox knows how to do it because of all their, the camera angles that they have and the lasers that they put, so they know the difference between the strike zone between an Aaron Judge and a Jose Altuve. But, so I don't know if the technology's there, but once it's there, it needs to go in. But, and I think it speeds up the game.
I am for speeding up the game, so if that's what it's going to take to speed up the game, I'm totally in for that.
Look, when you're one of the things that I love about baseball is you go to the game and it's this conversational sort of, pace of it, and you're at the game and it's an event and you can converse with the person next to you and you can watch. That's fine for 3 hours, but once it starts to get to 3.5, and then once it gets to 4, because the guys are stepping out of the box to do their gloves, and they can't get the set of pitches going between the pitcher and the catcher. And now it's like, oh, now we got to talk about it again. Those games have been insufferable, and when you end up losing as a fan, you end up losing a game 13-12, right? Like the Dodgers did. in a regulation game.
Yeah.
In a regulation game, how long did that last? 4.5 hours? 5 hours?
Are you talking about the 13-12 game?
Yeah.
5 hours and 17 minutes.
17 minutes.
Yeah. It's excruciating, and my cardiologist is not happy about it.
All right, I think we've done it. Done baseball.
All right.
All we need to do for this podcast. Let's get to the Rams.
Okay. Great win last week.
Great win. Week off.
They haven't lost a bye yet.
Yeah. No.
Undefeated versus the bye.
Yeah.
That's right.
That bye, they're like the Washington Generals. Just can't win.
Is that going to? Of course, they come back against the Giants, who are what, 1-6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They should be refreshed and healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, I think for a team, defense. It's mostly about the offense, and will the offense click in that bye week and that sort of thing. But if you're getting guys healthy and you're getting guys fit, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
So I don't think the bye week has an effect on it. I think this team is ready to go. Offensively, they've been doing some things right, and if you get an extra week to install some things and work on your timing in practice, and the defense is really what you're and you have extra time to scheme against a team that is looking really snake bit in the Giants. I don't think it's going to impact them at all. I think it's going to have a positive impact. But it's been a wacky NFL season in some ways.
I agree with you. It's they're the positive is they're not coming off a bye and are going to be hopefully rusty against a 1-6 team, right? So it looks like you're going in to play a mediocre team at best, so you can get on tack and get going, right? And all of a sudden you leave the game with a win and a lot of momentum, because your next 3 weeks are going to be tough. You got a Texans team that can put up a lot of points, right? And then you face the Vikings, right? And which I think it's at Minnesota, which can be pretty good defense there. And then I think you finish against the Saints that are, they're playing good football. So I'm not saying that you're looking ahead, but if you can come out of that Giants win healthy off of this bye with some confidence going into now 3 strong weeks, that's good. And that's
helpful, yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're looking ahead, but that I wouldn't doubt that they are kind of looking ahead. But getting a nice win against the Giants at home, I think, or are they?
New York.
You're in New York.
Yep.
And then going into getting ready for a nice stretch of 3 weeks after that, which is good, going to be against good football teams. Yeah. All teams, well, other than the Texans, I think all teams that are fighting for position. So, see how it goes.
I think the Chargers have their bye week this week.
Is it this week?
I think so.
Yeah. So it would have been great to get another a win in New England, and they played an okay football game. I mean, they decided to run a punt into their own end zone, which was kind of a tough one to take, but that was they competed all the way across all the way across the country against a Super Bowl winning team. So again, didn't get blown out, still competitive, still had possible chances of getting into the game end, but again this rest could be good, because then they got to go back to Jacksonville and go across the country again. So it's another thing. And then they play against the Bills at home, which, they're playing good football. Jacksonville, I would assume, is going to get Fournette back. And then they, going back and forth to the East Coast, thank God they have a bye in between. So
yeah, that's, probably much
because then the Bills come home and then they go to Dallas. So it's going to be, again, 3 good football games. So a good rest and then going into a good stretch. They need that. So they're competitive. They're going to be competitive in every game, I think. So can they finish?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what happens in the second half of the season is really critical.
Big time. Yeah,
really critical.
What they do in their division is going to be huge, because now I think the
Chiefs have pulled away.
Yeah. So they play at Kansas City though down the road. So maybe they can win some games and then kind of because now against the next 3 weeks. They're not even playing against division rivals. So they finished with the division rivals.
Okay.
So.
I wanted to shout out to Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes, how about that?
Yeah. So
picked him up in my fantasy league.
Good pickup.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns, the youngest player. We tied for the youngest player to get 4 touchdowns. Amazing. And I just read a graphic, an infographic today that said that he was the 6th wide receiver taken, and he has already more yards receiving than the other 5 that went ahead of him combined. He's having a great year.
That's terrific.
And so I can't remember the guy whose place he's taking who's been
Bryant?
hurt.
Is it
He said something.
Yeah.
I can't remember which guy it is, but it's the other wide receiver.
Oh, he's mad.
You know.
Yeah, he won't
yeah.
be back.
Yeah, and that he's getting Wally pipped.
Yeah. He's
so.
lost.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Why would you take him out? Why would you take
heck
somebody?
no.
He's
No, Ben loves to throw it to him now.
Hey,
you know?
and look, Juju isn't always the healthiest guy. There's going to come a time where this other guy's going to get his chance back. But as long as Juju's healthy, they need to just keep, targeting that kid.
Where is the defensive back punt returner, the kid from USC that was really good last year?
Adoree Jackson
Yeah.
is with who did draft him? Jacksonville, right?
Jack, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is.
Okay.
Google it.
Yeah, I'll Google it. I don't know why I can't remember that. Adoree. Titans. He's with Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha.
He's been doing good. He's been
Was-
he returned a punt. I think he had 1 called back.
Gotcha.
He's been doing good. Yeah, he's been doing solid.
SC had a pretty good bounce back win after that disaster that was Notre Dame. A lot of people were looking for, was it Arizona or Arizona State?
Arizona State. Yeah, Arizona State had improved.
Yeah. Very much so.
They, it was looking like Graham's job was on the line, and they simplified some things on defense, and they stopped going with some of these exotic blitzes, and they decided to put more standard pressure, and they played a couple of really great games, picked up a couple of big wins, and then it looked like that might be a buzzsaw that the Trojans were going into, and it just wasn't. They offensively, they couldn't quite get it started. Wilkins, I think, they just couldn't get it started, and then they also the Trojans also dodged a bullet, and the one big running back was not feeling well the whole day, so I think he carried the ball twice. Burgess, or I can't think
Benjamin.
I don't know the other running back for Arizona State.
They play Arizona.
Richard and
at
Benjamin.
home, I think, this week.
Cosgrove.
Don't they play?
They play Arizona home against
Yeah.
Arizona. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they're
they're
home.
actually putting them a lot of points right now.
That's going to be a long.
But I mean,
and
I was very.
that
there was a
quarterback-
lot of people saying that ASU is going to upset USC.
That
That things,
quarterback is insane.
it was like almost 3 or 4 games in a row. They haven't played their best football, and then got exposed at Notre Dame. And they're thinking, well, ASU has now flipped the corner, and they're playing good football, and they're at home. So there's going. So I was very.
Everybody on game day except Des Howard picked Arizona State.
Yeah.
Against the Trojans.
Right. So they
were buying
it was a
in.
good
They were
bounce. It was
drinking
a
that
very
cola-
good bounce back win, and they scored 48 points. And I think they came out of there rejuvenated, and they're going to face a quarterback that can really run the football. So hopefully the defense has turned the corner and figured it out. And
Well, the
I still
defense-
think Sam Darnold he's fumbled again. I just.
Yeah, Porter Gustin was back in the lineup.
That's huge, huh?
Nwosu and Gustin, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and so we'll see what's going forward. Arizona, that quarterback can run, and that quarterback can run.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a test for the defense.
what's up with Rosen? I mean,
I
did
heard
he break something?
No. I heard he's going to be. I think he might be a game time decision, but it was a kind of a banged up shoulder and he got his hand smashed. But they're kind of doing a day by day type of deal with him. I don't know what his situation is as of now. Maybe you could look it up, but last thing I heard it wasn't as bad as they thought it was.
That's always encouraging.
Yeah, but I mean that just showed you. I mean they just ran into the best Pac-12 team. Washington really looks good. I mean, I think they're the team to beat up there. I know they lost that close one to ASU, but that's a team that I think is they had all the cylinders going. They ran right up their stomach. It was they rushed for one guy rushed for 169 yards.
Jeez.
So they were almost. I think they ran for over 300 yards. So it was crazy. It's either that's how bad the run defense is for UCLA, that's been their dilemma.
That's been confirmed.
Yeah, that's their bugaboo. Yeah,
but you got Washington coming off of a bye, meeting a team that actually came off of they felt like a pretty good win against Oregon, but that team just kind of shut that down real fast. Browning only threw for 98 yards.
Yeah.
So that was a drumming. So.
What about the Rose Bowl? Who's this Scott Wolf guy? I read an article by him today. He's always on USC.
He's a USC grad. He wrote for the Daily. He wrote for the Daily Trojan. He is one of those guys, and I'm not exaggerating, where he was there at USC and thought, I'm a member of the club now, and he didn't get treated that way. He's a real weasel, and everybody just sort of looked at him, and all of a sudden he just decided, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to like me, then I'm just going to hate on you for the rest of my life. And that's what he's been doing ever since he's been at the Daily Trojan. He's a weasel. He's an absolute weasel, and he's sort of one of the USC pundits who follows USC that everybody loves to hate. But he's just got a big chip on his shoulder. He's not well liked. I don't think he's supremely respected. He's sort of embedded himself like a tick, right. And he's been sucking blood off of USC since his days at USC. I don't think he was very well liked when he was there. He's not well liked now. He's just one of those guys, right? Yeah. Who likes to say, "Hey, I'm USC. I graduated from USC. I wrote for the Daily Trojan, and I can be super objective." It's like Petros Papadakis does sort of the same shtick,
yeah.
But it can be a little bit more endearing. Scott Wolf has not one iota of anything endearing about him at all. No, he's just a weasel.
No,
he's a total weasel.
I think today he was saying that there's the Pac-10 will not be in the Rose Bowl.
Pac-12, you mean?
Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12 is not going to. Don't expect a Pac-12 champion to appear in the Rose Bowl, and he's trying to lay out all the scenarios.
It's clearly nonsense. Washington had a hiccup. Washington and Stanford are going to be there again. USC's fate is in their own hands, and none of that changes because of the words of a weasel like Scott Wolf. He's not a wolf. He's a sheep. He's just the most despised guy around. That the fact that Tim Tessalone still lets him have a press pass, I think is probably one of the worst things about Tim Tessalone, that he would allow a weasel like Scott Wolf to continue to work and be that embedded with the team.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about him except I'm reading all this.
Well, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Negative stuff about USC.
It's always that. It's always that. You know what? I think that if he were ever interviewed and he talked about it, he'd say that he is just being objective and he doesn't mind being the villain. But I think it's most of the time it's vindictive.
Yeah.
It's malicious and vindictive, and I think that's sort of the way that he was treated. He's sort of that way physically, stature-wise. He's probably a guy who got bullied, went to USC and thought his chalkboard was going to be erased and he'd have a clean slate when he got there, right. And probably got bullied there, and then
gone downhill ever since.
And so he thinks that he can bully back by with the stuff that he writes.
Yeah. Well.
Look, nobody's firing Clay Helton. I wish Lynn Swann would be a little more supportive of him. If there's anybody, in that program, that they need to think about, it's Clancy Pendergast has not been great defensively, and T. Martin has been. Those are guys that you have to. Helton's not going to go down with the ship before one of those guys goes.
Right.
And that's just the way it goes.
If anything, I think he's going to be told to get rid of them.
And we talked about it. And we talked about it last week. You know, in his last 18 games or 19 games, he's 17-2.
Yeah.
You know, Dabo Sweeney has the same record in the last 19 games. You know,
nobody's talking about him
nobody's
being fired.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's right up there. You know, Clay Helton with this team is right up there. And there are flaws in the team, and there are flaws in the way that he's doing. And it's his first time as a head coach. But I think he's doing things the right way.
Yeah.
He's doing things the right way.
Okay, we're running out of time here, but I think we ought to give the Kings some props. They're off to a blazing start.
Kings are great. They got beat only by the best team in the Western
St.
Conference,
Louis.
St. Louis.
They're really playing terrific.
They've been playing terrific, and that overtime goal where they pulled their goalie and scored with .09 left on the clock was just brilliant. It was just brilliant. And they're doing it without Carter, who's been injured. Yeah. You know, Camilleri has been good. Kempe, the emergence of Kempe, and getting a lot of getting time on special teams on the power play. Iafallo has been terrific, and Quick has been quick. And Kopitar is scoring. This is not the same Kopitar as last year.
Right.
And it looks like Dustin Brown has escalated his game. You know, there's a lot of energy. I think a lot of it is Stevens, absolutely. And I think they've added pace to the team. Yeah. And that was something that, for whatever reason, they just weren't really willing to do last year. And Kempe should have seen way more minutes, and he just didn't get it. Yeah. He just didn't get Sutter just didn't give it to him.
Yeah. Old school.
And he was a little old school, but Stevens was embedded with the team, knows the team, is well liked by the team, but has some different views on how to pace the offense, and it's showing. Yeah. It's showing, and so where a guy like an Alex Martinez, who I think was held back a little bit because he tends to be more of an offensive defender. You know, same with Drew Doughty. Both guys are great on defense, but they're letting them go a little bit. And Kempe has added some great pace and a lot of numbers, but Kopitar, he's the captain for a reason, and Dustin Brown's wearing the A now. So he's elevated his game. There's more energy there. Yeah. He came in fit, and he looks good.
He's been reborn.
Yeah, Toffoli and Pearson have been great, but Carter's still out with the injury. And when Carter comes back, this is a 9-2-1 team.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
John, your Ducks are starting to get healthy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just saw that Georgia just became the number 1 team in the country over Alabama.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I just got that little blurb, and I'm like, wow. I know that Alabama was good, and I didn't think they were. That's interesting. They're starting to play better, and Miller's actually played pretty good in the goal to help out. So he had a good game. So it's all about them getting all the right guys in line there and getting all healthier and getting back on pace. So I'm not worried. I know it's been a tough start, but I'm just starting to watch some of the hockey. I've been so engulfed with the other stuff, but I think by the time I think we get to the All-Star game, I think we should be kind of trying to hold our own against the Kings and
should be good.
Being competitive again. But we need to get Kessler back and get. But I think that's going to be after the All-Star break, and so we'll see. But it's going in the right direction.
I'd like to see them both in the playoffs. That's always,
well, I think you will. I think you will see them both in the playoffs.
That's always fun.
I would like to see them meet more in round 2 or round 3. I hope that we don't have to face them in round 1.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Because I don't want to see a bunch of Kings fans in the Ducks arena, which you will.
I wanted to ask you, switching sports, what do you think of the Clippers now?
I'm still not.
You're still not sold?
I watched a little bit of it last night. It was not fun to watch. I mean, I think they're mediocre at best. It's like when I went back and I told you guys there's like 4 good teams, and other than that, everybody else is mediocre at best. I mean, they had 40 assists against them last night. 40 assists against them, and it looked like they were just playing with them. And why is why is Blake bringing the ball up the court? I mean, is he a point guard now?
He's a point forward.
Yeah, he's point forward.
It's bad. I don't like.
We knew that once Chris Paul was gone that they were going to do a lot more of that.
Blakely, is it Blake? The other the kid that was given
Beverly.
Can he bring the ball up the court? I mean, I don't know. It looks bad, and then he's trying to just do this dazzle stuff, and he's getting the ball stripped out of his hands all the time. I mean, I don't like him as a point forward. I like him as a forward, Yeah. But it's I don't know. I think the LA basketball is mediocre at best. I'm not on board with them. I started to watch that last night a little bit. I watched the middle of the third all the way to the fourth. And I'm like, oh, this is really bad basketball. I mean, it was good on one side, bad on the other. Right. And but they had 40 assists against them last night.
That's incredible.
That's terrible. So,
any Laker comments?
Yeah, for me, it's all about being patient with this team. People have to understand that it's a young team. We need to be patient. And there's no more evidence than you look at Lonzo Ball, for instance. He's averaging 10 points a game, almost 8 assists, almost 8 rebounds. He's almost averaging a triple-double. Yeah. He's shooting 31% from the field. He is shooting 28% from three. I mean, triple-double doesn't mean anything if, if most of that's in garbage time or, when you're down by 10 or 12. So we just we need to be patient. They're a little bit better off than I thought they would be at this point in the year.
Yeah, I was afraid they were going to go 10 games without first win or something.
But, there have been moments when they've looked good. They've played a really dysfunctional Suns team that they ended up winning and tried to lose that game. So be patient.
I'm curious to see how they do against the West, other than the Suns.
Yeah,
I'm really curious.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really curious to see how they do against the
West. We saw
West.
how they did against the Clippers.
Right, exactly.
First game.
And the Clippers just got beat by 30 or 20 something by.
I gave up 140. It's not good.
Okay, I think if anybody has anything else to say, I think that's it.
Nope.
We're going to be out.
Peace.
Good night.